Welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele VanDusen and June Colson. A couple of clean comedians here to support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. They'll talk about highs and lows and some traumatizing shows. So get ready, get set, let's go! Welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast, brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network. I'm your host, June Colson, here with my best friend, Michele, with one L, VanDusen. Michele with one L. I just realized I don't think we've ever told them why you only have one L, Michele. Why? What happened to the other one?
When I became a Christian, it scared the L out of me.
What? See, I would laugh. I was going to laugh. But we established in our...
Thankful that you didn't.
We established in our Thanksgiving episode that you don't laugh at my jokes, Michele. So there you go.
I only laugh at the funny ones. Tell a funny joke, I'll laugh.
Okay, fine. I see. Not all my friends have standards. I'm just saying. So I have one friend with standards. All right. So we've got past Thanksgiving. We have chubby bellies. Our tummies are full of turkey, and we're moving on to the season of giving. And I want to show you an amazing gift that I was given. Okay.
All right.
You want to see it? I know how much you love books, and I was given this book.
I was given
this book. Okay, but let me tell you about this book.
Sweet.
Let me tell you about this book. My cousin, his girlfriend, life partner, much better half, Jenny, I think it was one of her clients, was talking about comedy or whatever, and they said, "Oh, I have a book that your cousin June might like," and they brought her this book. And they were going to mail it to me. And my cousin Mike goes, "Jenny, we can't send her that book." Okay. Because the title is The Comic Toolbox, which is nice. Oh, that's so sweet. You got me a comic toolbox. But then the subtitle is How to Be Funny Even When You're Not.
It's the perfect book for you.
Yes. Especially since you don't laugh at any of my jokes. It was so funny. He said when she brought it to me, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then when they realized what the title said, they were like, and they've seen me perform more than one time. So when someone who has seen you more than once wants to send you a book that the main skill is to teach you how to be funny even when you're not, I feel like I need to worry, I need to worry a little bit. And then our last episode, when I told a really funny snake joke.
Oh, that's funny right there. When I told a funny joke. I love how you had to add the word funny in front of it because
it was hilarious. It was hilarious, Michele. But it has rolled into a challenge for you, Michele. So
are we going to repeat this? Okay, go ahead.
Here's the deal, Pickles. So Michele said that if I bought her a snakeskin outfit, she would wear it. And I told her she had to wear it to a mini mall in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She had to walk around and own that thing. And she's like, I'll do it. But y'all, okay. So a little backpedaling happened as soon as we stopped the episode. As soon as it was over and we could talk.
Ugly suit. You had to pick a good one. You had to pick one that you would wear. Because
Michele,
I wouldn't wear what you're wearing. There's no way.
You accepted the challenge with no extra stipulations. So you can't afterwards tell me, that it's A, B, C, and D. Nope. You said you do it. And if I come up with a snakeskin outfit for you, you have to go to the mall and walk around in it and videotape yourself so we can share
but I want a hat. I want a hat and boots too.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Well, let's remind people if they want to, reach out to us, thelaughsup@gmail.com. That's our email address. You can reach out to us and we'll let you know how you can donate to the Michele Snakeskin Hat, Boots, and Pants Fund so that we can all be entertained. Right? Yeah, the comedy challenge.
Shopping challenge? I don't know. What is this?
I don't know. I'm always challenged when I shop. We're both challenged when we shop. They don't make the pants long enough for me. They don't make them short enough for you. It's I don't know how we become so fashionable the way we have. It's just that creativity. Okay, listen. Speaking of fashion, I see what you did there. I see what you're wearing, VanDusen. Because I told Michele I was throwing on my t-shirt from my school. right? I was going to throw on my t-shirt from my school because our guest and I actually met in the late 80s, early 90s, hence my poofy hair. This is kind of what my hair looked like back then. And I threw on the t-shirt to represent the school that we met at. And Michele goes and puts on her t-shirt. What's your mascot? What's the mascot?
This is an eagle. Rama Eagles.
A raider could totally destroy an eagle. A raider, I mean, come on. They have swords. They're like pirates. They have horses. Yeah, a raider would take an eagle.
Soar way higher. So
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But what I do know is we have an amazing guest today.
That was Claus.
And I have been cheering him on for a long time. So tell us, Michele, who's on the show today?
All right. Our guest today has been doing comedy since the 1990s, I think right after he met you. He's been a regular at the Mike Huckabee Show. He's performed comedy in 32 states and a few countries, including Arkansas. Yeah. So let's welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast, Hoss Ridgeway.
Woo! What's going on?
Hey,
everybody.
Oh my gosh, look, I have my towel. I'm ready to cheer for Hoss like I did back in middle school.
That's awesome.
Hoss, he's our man.
Yes.
He can tell a joke like no one can.
He's sitting on the bench. Everybody should. Yeah. He's sitting over here on his can. That's all I could do.
There it is. Hoss, he's our man because he's sitting on his can. There it is. Now we have it. Go, Hoss. Man, Hoss Ridgeway, we're so excited. We're so excited to have you on an episode of the Laugh Support Podcast. And it's like I told a joke and there's silence. I think we have
he just nods in agreement.
We have a little bit of delay.
You have to talk.
You can't nod, Hoss. Come on now. You can't nod. That's okay.
You're right.
That's okay.
I gotta use your words. Use your words.
Okay, so Hoss, you've been doing comedy, like Michele said, since, not long after we met each other. And I feel like, as you make it to the big time, the big shows that you're doing, as you're launching and taking off, I'm pretty sure that any speech that you make when you receive awards is going to be, I got to look back to the beginning and thank my inspiration, June Colson. Is that how it would be?
That's right. It would, except you know how it is. I when I say June, the next that comes out is your maiden name, and I'm like, I gotta keep reminding myself, you have a new name.
I do. I have a new name. It's June Colson. That's right. But when you knew me, I was June Vaughn way back in the day. And so I'll tell you a little bit, Michele, about Hoss and I. So we went to middle school together, and Hoss moved away because he could. A few people escaped from this town. And so good for Hoss, but I didn't. I stuck around. And several years later, Hoss came to film an episode or a comedy special here in Bowling Green. We got to reconnect, talk, and it was right about the time that I was getting ready to, hit the stage for the first time myself. So as Laugh Support goes, really, Hoss has been one of the people who's been Laugh Support for me from the very beginning. So that's really cool. But Hoss, tell us, as you started comedy, who are the people who, so if anybody comes up top of the mind that maybe was there from the beginning that helped you know that you had a gift and it was time to really do this thing? Oh, we've lost your volume, Hoss.
Yep. Okay, we're going to just read his lips.
He said, June is fantastic. You are correct.
Yeah, he said that. And he said that his start way back when was...
Well, he's laughing. Right now he's laughing at himself.
Yeah. So,
hey, so good job. Hear you, Hoss.
Yeah, you're muted, Hoss. Yeah.
Oh, now he muted himself. Oh, no.
Again.
Now we're back.
There we go. All right.
There we go.
Yeah, we're pretty sure what you said was June is crazy fantastic, and she helped me too, her and Michele. But okay, but other than that, other than us,
exactly what it is. So
who was there for you, Hoss?
No, actually, he was at the conference where I kind of got a start in going out, and he took me aside, and he's just like, man, you're really funny, and I want to help you. And so since, I don't know, the early 2000s, I've been he's been like a comedy mentor to me, and so I've been to his house writing comedy. I've done many shows with him. He's taken me with him when he's done shows with Tim Hawkins, and so I've got to go backstage, not on stage, but backstage and hang out with Tim Hawkins and some others. And and they gave me a lot of just
Twinkies?
tools and taught me a whole lot along the way.
Mm.
And
Okay,
then
Yeah, Bob.
most good.
So you cut out just a little bit when you said the name. We heard the conversation, but who Hoss said was Bob Smiley, and Bob Smiley is a
Right.
comedian. Is it Texas that he's out of?
Yes. Houston.
Yeah, out of Houston, Texas. Okay, now keep going. Keep talking, Hoss.
Yeah, and so now fast forward several years, I moved to Indiana 2 years ago, and Gutty's Comedy Club opened like a month after I moved here. And so I got to meet up Steve and Dennis at Gutty's, and I told them I really wanted to do like the kind of comedy you see in a club, but clean. And they've helped me kind of rewrite my church comedy to be more of a club thing. It wasn't anything that needed to be taken out, but at a church you can use a lot of extra words, and they
Yes.
taught so much about writing a joke to have a quick punch over and over again in the club. And so Steve and Dennis have been right there with me. They helped me get into a lot of different really good things. So that's who've been, Bob Smiley, and those guys. I met Bone Hampton really early in my comedy career. He was, really encouraging. And then I met Mike Williams, Dr. Comedy. Maybe you've heard of him. And he took me to lunch and even wrote some bits for me that I didn't use, but they were good. I just didn't. I wasn't with it enough when he started helping me to recognize he'd done something good for me. But that's who's been helping me along the way.
Awesome. Michele, you know who Steve and Dennis are, don't you? We've talked about them and even interviewed Steve on the podcast, haven't we?
Yes, and I said his name wrong. So you could say his last name if you don't mind.
He was Steve Riviera, Michele, which he gets that quite often. But she practiced, Hoss. She even practiced. What's Hoss's last name, Michele? Is he Ridgeway or?
Hey, now
you did it though. You did it.
It's Hoss the boss. Hey, that's what it is.
I've been introduced as Ross Ridgeway. I don't know how many times. So we'll take it.
So I'd be Voon John. And you'd be Michele VanDusen. That would be great.
No,
that would be great.
No, I think that's just
it works
wrong.
for her, but not for me.
Well, so Hoss, you've had a lot of really great influence. A lot of people with just real chops and comedy and just wonderful people to kind of gather around you. Now, you talked a little bit about Steve and Dennis helping you tweak what you had basically been, sharing mainly at churches, your gift, and said less words. So thinking of that, I'm thinking, is there any other piece of advice or something that someone has given you along the way that even to this day, you kind of adhere to that piece of advice?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that stick out. And one of them is, say two things like in his own way. I'm going to make it more commercial, but he say, act like you've been there and act in a way that they want you back. And these are the things that Dennis and Steve and Bob and others have taught me as well. Like I'm not there just to be all about me. I'm there for the audience, and I'm also there. They have a business to run. I was just talking to Dave the King Wilson today, and he told me a story about a guy that went 2 minutes over in Vegas, and they got mad at him for 2 minutes. And you upset it's just 2 minutes, and he said that cost us $30,000.
Yeah,
wow.
In gambling at the casino for 2 minutes. Like that's, and about like if there are people in the room, how much money they make an hour, and if I go over my time and I disrespect them, then they're not going to be happy about that. And so it's about minding your time, being the kind of person that they want to bring back, being an encourager. Also, that there's room for everybody. Like I don't need to be in competition with June or anybody else. I get happy for my friends that do get good shows and good gigs, and I don't think, oh man, it should have been me. Maybe sometimes I think next time it should be me or something.
Yeah, I like
right?
that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I could tell you the first time that I did a club was a Gutty's Comedy Club. Well, technically I did Zanies before that, but I remember at the end of the show, that's one of the things that Hoss said to me, Michele, was, man, there's room for you, and just hearing that from a friend and somebody I respect, and another comedian. And I don't get too much into the, I'm a girl and it's harder for us in comedy and those kind of things, but realistically it can be more difficult for us when when clubs are typically run by men and you see all these shows, it's guy, and when when a man that that you respect says there's room for you, then it helps break down that maybe sometimes even just fictitious thought in my mind that, that the guys don't want you on the show. You know what I'm saying? That they don't want you there. So Hoss was definitely, it was really awesome. It was really awesome to do a show with a childhood friend. He actually invited me back, Michele, to come back the next time. The first show that I did was with Robert G. Lee there. And then when Hoss was headlining, he actually talked to the guys and had them invite me to come back and feature for him. So that was really, really super cool. So Hoss has definitely been, he's been my laugh support, but outside of me, as someone who can say that you have been supportive to, has anybody been kind of placed in your path that you feel like you've got to be the laugh support for, or have been able to lift up as they started their journey?
Absolutely. I started going to the open mics at Gutty's in 2019. And, open mics a lot of times are the guys trying to get started. They're in their 20s. Yes. They've only been doing comedy a year or two. And here I was, now I'm 48, and I'm sitting here with all the 20-year-olds doing comedy on a open mic. And I'm just trying to refine jokes I've been telling since then. Those guys were in kindergarten,
Yes.
And
yes.
and it's like, when these guys really hit hard, instead of being like, hey, that should be me making them laugh, I go, I just encourage them. I write tags for their jokes. I take notes sometimes if they want me to, and we meet to dinner before open mic with several of the guys, and we just kind of, so I've got 8 or 10 young comics here that I just constantly try to pour into and try to encourage and tell them, people make a lot of mistakes in comedy, like talking over their laughter or adding too many punchlines. I know there's a rule of thirds and all that, but when sometimes you hit them so hard with one, if you throw in second and third, you lose them, or at least if you do it too early and you don't wait for them to laugh, And so I'm teaching all that I've learned to a bunch of guys right here. So it's been cool.
Yeah. That's really
That's
awesome.
Really good.
Now, Michele, when you started at a club kind of setting like that too, didn't you? Where, where the guy who owned the club was like, great job, just practice, you need time, stage time, that kind of thing. And even offered you stage time early on. Michele, did you develop kind of, because definitely Hoss at Gutty's, there is a Gutty's like comedy family going on there. Did you early on establish a family, Michele, when you started doing comedy?
No, because most of the comedians on the South Side, at that time frame, we're talking years ago, most of them were drinkers and druggies and, into some things that I personally am not into.
Yeah.
And so it was hard to establish and hang out with that kind of environment. Plus, I had small kids at home. So when I went the first time, my husband came with me and I said, "Is this something I can do?" He's like, "That's fine. I won't be back." I said, "Okay." So I had his blessing to go. And so I did end up partnering up with Susan Dale. So she and I got to hang out with, and do things. And we got to work on some stuff. She produced several shows and I was part of that. So my family was Susan. It was like I had a new sister, but I couldn't stay and hang out because of my family commitment. So yes and no.
So I know later on though, you did establish a comedy family, because Michele is definitely she's the big sister, she's the mom, she's
The nosy
really
neighbor.
supporting. She's the nosy neighbor. She's all, I got a piece of advice for that. Like, no, you definitely established that family, and Hoss, you found yours in Gutty's for sure. do you think that's important? And if you do you have any suggestions for if someone doesn't quite have that yet, maybe how to find those people that you connect with?
Yeah, I think you should always surround yourself with people that want you to do better, that cheer you on, not with
Mm-hmm.
people who live in competition. Like the
Mm.
comparison trap will get us. We all kind of do that anyway. We see somebody that got on Comedy Central and we're like, how did you do that? You're not as me, but that's none of my business, right? I mean,
Right.
that station 24 hours a day. So when you say there's a room for all of us, I just got to be at the right place at the right time. But putting in your life that help you are the people who you help each other, and you're honest. Like if you came up to me and said, "How did that show go?" and every time you were fantastic, even if you
Right.
didn't do fantastic, how does that help you?
Mm.
The people I'm with will say, that joke didn't hit like you thought it did, and maybe you should do this or maybe not do that joke or whatever. And you want people who are real but also encouraging. So
Yeah.
I,
Do you have any advice on taking advice? Because I've been in a lot of writers' rooms and
Mm.
writers' groups and things like that, and we Michele and I have talked on other episodes. I've been blessed with some of the best in comedy to mentor me, to to help me learn to write and those kind of things, and I listen and I take it in, but also sometimes it's like
It doesn't apply.
it doesn't apply, even if it is, one of the best of the best. Sometimes you got to go with your gut instinct, but I'm always respectful to what's being said to me. And I hear a lot of explaining in a lot of our writers groups. There's a lot of explaining rather than just listening and focusing. Do you have any thoughts
Sure.
on that when especially, well, I think all the way across the board, no matter where you are at one thing I've learned about comedy is you constantly grow. It's constant. You're constantly learning. You're never there. There's always, more to do. But as people are giving advice, what is your advice about advice?
Well, I guess my about advice is this: that much of advice is given without preparation. You know what I mean? So usually it's like a knee-jerk advice. It's like I heard a joke and to do this, and sometimes you're like, that doesn't make sense to me. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to kind of take. You have to take and the old consider the source as well. Like if it's somebody who
Mm-hmm.
encouraging gives you like constructive criticism, you could take that more than you can from someone who's, hey, who's always on you and always giving you grief and never really encouraging. And so I would say you consider the source. You remember that sometimes it's just on the whim that people give advice. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
if it's not true, let it go. If
Right.
it's not beneficial, let it go. It's just one person. You can get so caught up, like when you guys were at the Dry Bar taping for me and Rhonda, and there was this one guy in the middle. He never laughed for all three of us.
Yeah.
Right? His wife next to him was rolling. Well, I could be
Yes.
so concerned about that one guy in the middle that I don't do well, and it's
Yes.
like it's just one person, you know. And so we
Right.
don't. When you get advice, it could be like the greatest that you look up to, and they give you bad advice because it's
Yeah.
just so quickly given sometimes. So I would say, consider things, thank people, and
Mm-hmm.
if it applies, take it, and if it doesn't, move on. But don't be so full of yourself that you can't take advice like that.
Yeah. And that guy, now Michele, that guy, we met his wife. Michele became best friends with that guy's wife on the front row.
Wow,
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
fun.
She became
Do you have any
and
backstory?
well, they
They
go
have
to
been to
yeah.
like all the shows. They got a season pass and they go to all the shows, and he just doesn't laugh at a lot of things out loud, but he enjoys all of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they love
That
it.
makes me feel better because I'm sitting there working hard that night going, I'm going to make this guy crack. And I never did. Not one
Yeah.
Oh,
second.
I did. You're welcome. Oh.
Yeah, Michelle did in
Oh,
the audience, like personally having a
okay.
conversation with him made him laugh. She did that, because it was just intimate back and forth or whatever. But they told us how much they love comedy. Like I even remember their names, like, and the fact that they have, from day one that they've been filming the Dry Bar specials, they've been going from
Wow.
day
Every
one,
time.
and they hardly ever miss a show, and he loves it. But that's the thing too, is that you don't get the backstory. We don't get to
No.
know what's going on with somebody in the audience. And I know, like, as our goal, like, we want to see everybody laugh, but you definitely, like, had you just focused completely on him and ignored you had an amazing set. You had
Yeah.
everybody rolling in there, but that one
Right.
guy, and I've seen that. Have you seen that before, where a comedian just can't leave that one person alone? That, like, everybody else, you lose them because you're trying to get the laugh out of the one person in the room.
Yeah, they go, and I've seen people go in on that one person out loud. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's wrong with you? Why are you not smiling
Yeah.
or whatever? And I'm like, that's not on you or them. It just, some people are not out loud laughers, and I've learned that as well. Like, I've gone into a room where I'm like, I can't hear anybody laughing, and I feel like I must have bombed, and then I sold every shirt that I brought with me because they loved it, and they're all like, "You're the funniest person I've ever said." I was like, "You should have told your face that." It's like that would have been nice.
Yes. Yes, I remember doing Getty's one time, early on before the show began. A couple came in, and I could hear them arguing with each other. Like, when I was in the parking lot, they were arguing with each other, and then they came in early before the show started, and they had been arguing with each other. Then they came in, and then I heard them have a conversation with the owners about how they didn't sell alcohol. They didn't realize that Getty's was dry, right? That they didn't sell alcohol. And so then that set the dude off, or whatever. And they were just like, and they went and sat down. And they didn't come out of it. He had his back to her, she had his back to him, and they were going to stay at this comedy show. By golly, they're staying. But they were furious with each other. But like I said, we don't know the backstory. I just happened to catch their backstory. So,
Right.
so I knew, like, that was just a couple that I knew, like, if we bring them along, that's great. I really hope I can. But if not, I already know that things were not good, when they walked in the door. But we don't get to know that backstory. Michelle, have you had the stone-faced people in your audience before that got your attention?
Yes and no. So I just throw Twinkies at him like Tim Hawkins. No.
I take a Twinkie. Actually, we have Twinkies here in my house. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, Hoss, man, we so appreciate you coming on with us today. Let's talk about where people can find you. Because listen, y'all, Hoss is everywhere, and he's doing big stuff, and it's pretty
he's so
awesome.
funny.
Yes, and he's so funny.
Hey,
So let's talk about where can they find Hoss Ridgeway?
Well, I'm going to be in Columbus, Indiana on New Year's Eve. I actually had, like, people wanting me at 3 different places, and I was like, I'm going to go, like, 30 minutes down the road.
Yes.
But in March, I'll be out in Dallas, Fort Worth area with the group called Acapella. I'm going to be their MC and doing comedy on their 40th anniversary thing.
Nice.
And so December 10th, if you're in the Nashville area, I'll be warming up the crowd for Huckabee again. And so lots coming down. I'm going to be in Hawaii next summer, doing
sweet.
comedy on a cruise in Hawaii, and it helps my wife and I go for free. And I told my wife, I was like, I promised I'd take you to Hawaii, and someone else paid for it. It doesn't count. I'm kidding. She didn't say that. She was happy. But yeah, that's what's coming down. As most of us are just trying to find, a place to work right now, and that's something up, but got a lot on the line, as they say. Trying to hook those things in. So
yeah,
you want to shout out your social media too?
Yeah, you could go at Hossage, Hossage. That's like you've heard of the Ice Age, where you're living in the Ice Age right now. And then Same for Twitter, and then just Hoss Ridgeway on Facebook. Also, I have a children's book called Seba and the Worm. You can get that on hossridgeway.com. And it's a story about a bird trading its feathers for worms to a until the snake tries to eat him, and then she gets saved and helped and learns to fly again. It's like a self-help book for little children. So
sweet.
Nice.
Well, Hoss, we appreciate you being on here. He's been an awesome guest, hasn't he, Michele?
Yes, fantastic.
He's been a awesome guest. Awesome. All right, so make sure.
That's it right there.
Make sure that you go seek him out, check him out. He's a little bit of everywhere, and you won't be disappointed. I promise you that. Well, y'all, that's going to be it for this episode of the Laugh Support Podcast. You know that if you want to see our pretty faces, you can check out the podcast on YouTube and on the Creative Motion Network on Roku, which is really cool. And then any place that you get your podcast, you can find us on Amazon, Apple, Audible, Spotify, Player FM, and others. So that's it for this episode of Laugh Support Podcast. As always, Jesus and Junebug loves you. And Michele, tell them goodbye, Michele.
Little Michele and the Messiah tell you to take it higher.
2 episodes in a row. We're out of here.
All right. Thanks for listening.